Israeli Ambassador to Kenya, Gideon Behar, is our guest today, and we are talking about the ongoing situation in the Middle East. Ambassador, thank you for speaking to us today. When the escalation started, it was started by Israel, who launched what the government of Israel called a preemptive strike on Iran, with the explanation here being that Israel was preventing any possible strike on against it from Iran. Since then, world leaders, even current and former intelligence bosses, have said there is no evidence that there was any imminent strike on Iran. Was there any?
Yes, indeed, our attack, American-Israeli joint operation against Iran was a preemptive attack to stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons and ballistic missile capabilities. You know, the Iranian regime has been developing a nuclear program in order to have nuclear bombs already for a very long time. At the same time, they were developing very extensive ballistic missiles programs and drones program in order to attack Israel and to destabilize the whole region. And they were in the process of bringing these two programs underground, you know, where they will be protected and immune. And we knew that once these programs, the development of atomic bombs and the development of ballistic missiles are taken underground, they will be immune and they will not be able to, we will not be able to stop them. And then they will have control over the Middle East, and then they will launch deadly attacks against Israel, because the intention of this regime, and this is very important for me to emphasize, the strategy, the declarations, the policy of the Iranian regime is to destroy Israel. And we had no choice but to defend ourselves. The windows of time was narrowing very quickly because their strategy to bring underground these two programs.
So you say the window was running down, but the 27th of February, was there any imminent threat of an attack on Israel in terms of days or weeks?
This possibility is always there. And if you look in the last 2.5 years, just want to remind you, they have attacked us several times on Israel. You know, since October 7th, 2023, there were few rounds of escalation with Iran. So they have done that in the past, and we know that once they have a possibility, they will do it. And also this time there was an imminent danger that they will strike first.
But I want to specifically ask about this past weekend. Was there any intelligence that Iran was about to attack Israel in the coming days?
This was a very highly probability, and we knew that they are considering that.
From what we've heard from the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, he says that there has been no proof that Iran had any systemic effort of a nuclear program. Even the former Director General of IAEA, Mohammed al-Baradei, has said there's been no evidence that Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons program. U.S. intelligence sources speaking to media have said there's been no evidence of a program that Iran was working on to develop a nuclear program at that stage. Nothing imminent about taking the program underground or developing a nuclear program.
All our intelligence, all our reports, and not only ours, but internationally, show that Iran was developing nuclear bombs and nuclear programs. We know that. And I want also to point to the reports of the International Atomic Agency. They were clearly saying that Iran is not complying with the international regulations in this field, that they do not allow the entry of inspectors to come and to see their nuclear facilities. You have it everywhere. You just have to go even to the internet and see open resources. The Natanz nuclear facility and in other places, they are having a huge and vast nuclear program with the intention of destroying Israel. And
Very
also,
well, but Ambassador,
yes,
what the DG has said lately, in fact, since after you attacked Iran, is that there's been no proof that Iran had any systemic effort of a nuclear program.
we have lots of evidence, ample evidence, and not only us, they were developing nuclear weapons. And they were enriching they were enriching uraniums to the state, to the level that it will be used for atomic bombs. I want also to remind you of a quote from Witkoff, the American negotiators, who said that during the last negotiations, the Iranians themselves have admitted that they have enough uranium for 11 nuclear bombs. So all the evidence is there. They were developing atomic weapons with the aim of destroying Israel. This is very important to understand. I know that for many people here in the region, this is very difficult to understand that there is one country that wants to annihilate and destroy another country completely. But this is the ideology of this regime, and this is the strategy of this regime. I just want to remind you of a very big clock in the middle of Tehran, which shows how many days are left till Israel will be destroyed. So they were counting the days.
How many days are left by the 10 years track?
Well, you know, we are alive and we continue to live, and this is the most important thing.
You know, you launched the attack in the middle of negotiations that were taking place. The mediator was Oman, and the foreign minister of Oman had actually traveled to America to present a report that he had to the administration in the USA. And he also spoke to the media, and you saw that interview, where he said that Iraq had actually accepted to most of the demands that had been put before them.
I don't think this is true, and this is contradictory to the facts. I want Eric to remind you, do you know how many years the international community has been negotiating with Iran that Iran will stop its nuclear program? Years, really years, rounds after rounds. There was the Obama administration, and before him and after him, etc., etc.
So this time,
this time, they were given ample time to do that. All the chances, everything. But their strategy, and this is again very important to understand, they were dragging their feet to win time. They want
not according to the mediator Badr al-Busaidi of Oman, who says that Iran had accepted to most of these. And he said a deal was within reach.
I don't believe so.
This first time a deal was within reach. What makes you not believe what the mediator was saying?
And because we have seen the facts. I have read also the news and received the information of the negotiation. The negotiations didn't bring anything. The Iranians refused everything. Just recall what the American side has said. They refused everything. Everything. They didn't want to compromise. They didn't want to compromise on their atomic program. They didn't want to compromise on their ballistic program. And they didn't want to stop their support for the terrorist organizations
that they support
all around the region.
Ambassador, are you saying the Omani mediator was misled?
What I'm saying is that Iran didn't want, really, they didn't negotiate in good faith, and they didn't want to stop their programs. You know, on the table of a negotiation...
So the mediator was misled?
This is what you say. I know our information, and I know what I read also in the media, international media, that all opportunities were given to the Iranian regime to prevent this escalation. by doing three things. Let me just repeat them, okay? Because these are the main issues that threaten the stability of the Middle East and the entire region, internationally also Israel. Stop developing nuclear weapons, stop developing your ballistic missile programs, and stop supporting and enhancing terrorism in the Middle East. They didn't want to do that. And I want also, Eric, to tell you something which is very important, okay?
Yep.
With your permission.
Okay.
This is an illegitimate regime by the eyes of its own people. The Iranian people don't like this regime. The vast majority of the Iranian people yawn and suffer under this regime, and they want to see a change. They want this regime to be gone. This is a regime that is oppressing its own people, that has killed tens of thousands of its own people in very brutal ways just very recently. So this is the problem. So it's not with the Iranian people.
You say it's an illegitimate regime. We'll come into discussion about that because I'd like to get to understand more about what you're saying. But in everything that's going on, you, Israel, are a member of the international community.
Sure.
Israel is a member of the United Nations.
Of course.
Many world leaders, including the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and leaders from the EU, from the UK, from France, from Bolivia, from Chile, from Africa, have said that this war is going against international law. The UN Secretary General says this is undermining international peace and security. The President of France says we cannot approve strikes outside of international law. We have seen leaders from the EU, the UK, and others talking about a return to the international law and the UN Charter. Why is Israel blatantly violating international law?
We are not violating international law. The one who is violating international law is the Iranian regime, which is in the process of developing nuclear weapons to eradicate and to annihilate a UN member state, Israel. It's the Iranian regime who violates international law by attacking 12 countries so far in the region. It's the Iranian regime who violates international law by closing the Straits of Hormuz, where 20% of the oil supply goes. They are the violators of international law. We are protecting ourselves. Believe me, if we understood that the international UN Charter or community will safeguard our security, we would have been in a different place.
Are you saying that you have lost faith in the UN Charter and international multilateralism?
I want to tell you
why you decided to act unilaterally.
I want to tell you, we are acting in self-defense. No one else is coming to us to stop Iran. We had no other choice but to do that together with the United States.
So you decided to go out of the multilateral system?
No, of course not. No.
In the name of self-defense?
I think that the one who is going out of the international community, of a multilateral system is Iran. They are the ones who are violating UN charters, international norms, etc. They are the ones who are attacking, destabilizing the region. I want, Eric, also it's very important for me that the viewers and listeners understand that this regime has been using three pillars strategy to destabilize the whole region, to threaten international stability, and to threaten the existence of Israel. And this is the support of terrorist organizations in the Middle East, the development of nuclear capabilities and weapons, and the extensive development of ballistic missiles. We had no other choice but to act for our self-defense. And the Iranians, they are the ones who have encircled Israel with a ring of proxies. They call it the ring of fire. You have Hezbollah in the north, which is an Iranian creation, supported by Iran, receiving money, ammunition, technology, training, etc. And now, when this war broke out, the Hezbollah have joined under the instructions of Iran. It's Iran who supported Hamas. Iran was smuggling arms via Sudan and other places to the Hezbollah, giving them ammunition, making their ballistic missiles more accurate, threatening Israel. It's Iran who has been giving, in the last year, more than $1 billion to Hezbollah. And I want to ask you something. Why do they do that? Their country is in such a perilous situation. The economy is collapsing. There is huge inflation, no electricity, water is very scarce. They are in the midst of a huge internal crisis because they put billions of dollars into unnecessary military programs. They take it away from the Iranian people to invest it in a machine of war and destruction. And that's why the Iranian people is also rising up and saying, we don't want it anymore. We want you to invest in us.
You know, is there any role that Israel has played in what you're calling now the perilous situation that Iran finds itself in economically? We've heard from the American Secretary of the Treasury that there was a strategy in America to sort of cripple access to the dollar for the Iranian regime, which ended up with the inflation and people pouring onto the streets. What role did Israel play in that?
You know, I think it's a part of the international community approach vis-à-vis Iran. The international community understands the dangers emanating from Iran and understands that the Iranian economy was harnessed by this terroristic regime to produce machinery of war and destruction, and not for the benefit of the people.
Okay. So Israel and America have played a role in destabilizing Iran, in causing a direct threat to Iran, the exact same things that you've talked about Iran doing to Israel.
Again, there is a difference between Iran or Iranian people and the Iranian regime. We must understand that. This is a crucial point to understand, Eric. The Iranian regime is the problem. It's not the Iranian people. We have a difference. The difference is that the Iranian people are suffering from this regime and want to see a change. They don't, they don't want a hijab to cover the faces of their women. They want economic prosperity, they want democracy, they want freedom, they want to be able to express themselves. All of this has been taken away by this Iranian regime. The Iranian regime, and it's extremely important to understand, is illegitimate in the eyes of its own people. Now, I want to draw the attention of our viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
Please go and see the reactions of the Iranian and Persian people throughout the world. They are happy about this operation. They rejoice because they see a chance for a change. They see a chance for more freedom, for more stability, for economic prosperity.
Let me flip this coin a little bit. If the citizens of Israel were unhappy with their leadership, what do they do about it?
There are elections. They go to the ballots.
Yeah.
If they are not happy, and they are in a democracy, always you have people who want to see changes. So there are many, many ways to.
What if the leadership of Israel does not listen to the people?
It didn't happen, and it will not happen.
What choices would the people of Israel have?
I think this is a hypothetical.
It's a hypothetical question.
A hypothetical question.
What do they have any avenue within the international frameworks of the multilateral world that we live in, the UN Charter? Do they have any framework of raising that to the international community, that we, the citizens of Israel, are feeling oppressed by the leadership of Israel, which is refusing to accept our democratic right and will? Do they have such?
Okay, so just to repeat, this is what you are saying. This is hypothetical.
It's a hypothetical
This is something which never happened. And I can
Israel or any other country. I'm using Israel because you're an Israeli citizen. So it will be personal to you.
It will not happen in Israel. Israel, the society, it's a matter of the society, not only the state. The society, the infrastructure, the institutions are all democratic ones. There is a participation of everyone in decisions making. If you want to protest, you can do it. You have the means. You have the freedom of expression in the press, in social media. You can demonstrate. You can cast your voice in the ballots. You have all the democratic instruments and means to influence things. And Israel is a democratic country.
Okay. The people of Iran, they have many avenues of raising their issues. Either they pour out into the streets to protest, and we've seen them doing over the many years over various issues in their governance. There's also the international community, which they can use to rally support for the people against an oppressive leadership. This is not a matter that has been discussed at the UN level, where the world says that we need to sort out the problem of Iran. This was a unilateral decision taken by Israel and the USA for a regime change in Iran without following due international process. Why?
What do you think the Iranian people want? Okay. Do they want this regime to remain in power, or do they want democracy, economic prosperity, freedom of speech? This is what they want.
I don't know, Ambassador. Is there anyone who has asked them?
Yes. Look, they are there in the streets. They have demonstrated, they have voiced.
With their government, they poured onto the streets, and there was a revolution.
Yes.
A change of system, a change of leadership.
Yes.
We have not seen that since 1979. The people of Iran, they have the history. They have done it before.
And
So you ask whether they have an option.
You should
do have an option. They've exercised it before.
Yeah, but you should ask yourself, why? Because this regime is a very oppressive regime that uses all state mechanisms and control to repress the people. I just want to tell you, to give you a few statistics on the nature of this regime. They are ranked number 2 in the world in number of executions. Last year, they've executed close to 2,000 people, just normal executions, okay, entre guillemets. I'm not counting all the tens of thousands of people who were killed in the last demonstrations. I'm not counting the thousands who were killed in previous demonstrations and previous demonstrations. This is a regime that oppresses everyone. They use state mechanism, Revolutionary Guard, the Al-Quds Force, Basij, and other. I mean, we are dealing with an illegitimate regime by its own people and also internationally. And I think that if you look around, you see that the Iranian regime is completely isolated in the world because people understand the dangers of this regime. This is, by the way, the regime we've been supplying arms and war machineries against the poor Ukrainian people.
Yeah.
So many of them were killed by war machines produced by this regime.
Help me understand something, Ambassador. You have decades of experience as a diplomat and in international relations and international law. Under the UN system, is there any formula that's in place for a people of a country to go on to change a regime to follow?
Things should be done internally. I think that the UN doesn't intervene internally in the affairs of people. Usually this should be the norm. Okay. But what we are seeing now, we are seeing an Iranian regime which is illegitimate in the eyes of its own people, and you see it everywhere. You see it with the Iranian diaspora, in America, in Canada, in Australia, in Western Europe, and inside Iran. What you are saying is, let me flip what you are saying. What you are saying is that actually, do you refer to a possibility that the UN supports an oppressive regime? I don't think that this is what you meant, because we can turn it also this way. What I'm saying is...
I am coming from a premise that the UN would not encourage an oppressive regime and any system of government that oppresses.
I agree with you.
Okay. So in international law, what does the UN system have in place to make sure that no government oppresses its people?
Since you are repeating these questions again and again and again, let me ask you, just by raising a few issues.
Yeah.
Has the UN prevented the genocide in Rwanda? Has the UN prevented the genocide in Darfur? Has the UN charter norm prevented the huge massacre by the Khmer Rouge of millions of people? The UN stopped the massacre of so many other people in Sudan and in other places? Why can we put and should put our faith in that situation? We had no other choice but to take our future into our hands.
So the UN is a non-effective system. Does that give legitimacy to a third country to come and sort out
what gives
the issues of a sovereign people of Iran?
What gives us the legitimacy is self-protection. And we are acting under, I think, international norms and legitimacy that we are preventing the destruction of State of Israel by a state by a regime that explicitly wants to destroy the State of Israel and is developing all the strategies and means to do that. We are acting in self-defense.
Okay. If we were now to extend this, what would success look like for Israel?
We have stated
a complete destabilization of Iran, a change in the governance of Iran, the elimination of the state of Iran?
When we have stated our goals from the very beginning, we want the Iranian regime to stop the development of nuclear bombs. We want the Iranian regime to stop the development of a very extensive ballistic missiles programs. I don't know to what extent people who are here understand that, but they wanted to achieve 8,000 ballistic missiles with an outreach much beyond the region. They were aiming at intercontinental ballistic missiles. And we want them to stop that and to stop also their support to the different terrorist organizations in the region.
Yeah.
I want to remind us that the Houthis, just across here, the Gulf of Aden, are a proxy of Iran. They get money from Iran, they get instructions from Iran, ideologically they are part of Iran, they get ammunition, etc. And these people, the Houthis, are cooperating very closely with Al-Shabaab, which is a major threat in this country, in this region. So you see how the spillover of Iranian terrorism is coming everywhere. So we said, to come back to your question, our goals are that Iran will stop its nuclear bomb program, ballistic program, and its support to terrorism.
Regional terrorist organizations.
Exactly.
Does Israel have ballistic missiles?
We have some capabilities, yes.
Does Israel have intercontinental ballistic missiles?
I'm not in a position to answer that.
Does Israel have a nuclear weapon?
Israel have said that it will not be the first country to have nuclear weapons.
Does it have a nuclear weapon?
Israel have said it will not be the first country to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East.
Israel among the countries that have nuclear weapons?
Israel has said it will not be the first country to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East.
So should Iran become a second country to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East?
Iran should not. Iran, you cannot do a comparison between Iran and Israel.
Why not?
Because the Iranian regime is such a fanatical regime. Its ideology is to export the Islamic revolution, not only in the region, but worldwide. And this is the danger, the combination of a regime which is very fanatical with a very destructive means. And their wish to acquire them is also possesses a danger to the region.
So if Israel has ballistic missiles, has ICBMs, will not be the first country in the Middle East to have a nuclear weapon, should Iran not have any of this? Should Iran, through the efforts of Israel right now and the USA, have diminished capacity to actually develop a nuclear program, have diminished capacity to have ICBMs, or the 8,000 ballistic missiles that you say they're in the process of acquiring, would Israel then give up all these weapons because your main threat in the region is no longer there?
The question is always Iran. Israel is not the question here. Israel is the good guy. The bad guy is the Iranian regime.
Should the bad guy become a good guy?
I think that we
by
hope.
force, because here we're saying that you're forcing the bad guy to become a good guy by making sure that he does not have ballistic missiles, making sure he doesn't have ICBM or a nuclear power. So if this bad guy is forced to become a good guy, will the good guy also become a better guy by getting rid of his own weapons?
We are a good guy, and we live in a place full of threats and dangers. And if you just look in the last 2.5 years, and you have seen how many times we have been attacked by Iran itself, 3 times, by the proxies of Iran, Hezbollah, by Hamas, and in other numerous wars, you understand that Israel must maintain its defense capability. I think what you are asking is really...
I'm asking the legitimate right for Israel to remain so heavily armed and not have any other country in the region having a right to be so heavily armed.
We do not threaten any other country in the region. On the contrary, we are a stabilizing force in the region, and you see it with our relationship with the Arab states and the Abraham Accords states. We have diplomatic ties with Egypt, with Jordan, with United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Bahrain, etc. So we are a constructive force in the region, whereas the Iranian regime is the destructive force in the region. And I want to draw your attention. Why did they have to attack 12 countries now in the region? Why did they have to attack countries that didn't participate in the war against them?
What did your intelligence tell you before you started the war? What were they likely to do?
The intelligence told us that Iran was advancing very quickly to acquire atomic bombs, that Iran was enriching uranium to a degree that it is only used for military purposes, that Iran was in the process of building 8,000 ballistic missiles that reach the whole region and beyond, that it was in the process of bringing these programs, ballistic missiles and atomic bombs, underground so they will be immune.
Yeah.
And our intelligence told us that they've been supplying billions of dollars to terrorist organizations in the Middle East, namely Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Houthis in Yemen, Shiite militias in Iraq, in Syria, and elsewhere.
What did your intelligence tell you about the possible reaction of Iran once you attacked them?
Well, we
Did you anticipate what they've done now?
We knew that they will launch attacks against civilians, against civilian infrastructure. We knew that this is what they will do. And we have seen it. We have seen them targeting civilians and civilian population centers in Israel, People were killed in Israel, in shelters. Damage was caused in Israel. And we have seen also what they are doing in the Gulf states, where they attacked airports, they attack energy infrastructure, etc., etc. So they deliberately attack civilian infrastructure.
And you were not surprised.
Sorry?
You were not surprised when they did this. You expected them to do it?
Well, we knew they will do that.
Okay, I'm sure.
We knew, maybe not about the Gulf states. I think this was also, there was a fear that this might happen. When it comes to Israel, where it concerns Israel, we knew they will do that because they have done it in the past.
Had you cautioned your friendly neighbors in the Gulf?
I'm sure that there have been...
we are likely to launch an attack on Iran, and they are likely to respond by attacking you. Had you told?
I'm sure that there were all kinds of discussions, but I do not possess the information to give you an accurate answer.
I want to imagine that you have gamed this war in what you'd like to see as the possible outcome. How many possible outcomes do we have here?
I think that we hope that this operation will create the right conditions for the Iranian people to take their destiny into their future. And Eric, this is also very important. I want to say something very important, okay?
Yes.
As long as this regime remains in power, it will be a source of a danger to the region, to Israel, to its own people, and internationally.
So your number one best case scenario is that the current regime is out of power.
Well, as I've said, we hope that the operation will create the conditions for the Iranian people to take their future, their destiny into their own hands.
So how do they do this? In the middle of a war, in the middle of a crisis that has been caused by an external force that has killed their leaders, and that has destroyed much of their infrastructure and has destroyed much of their own defense capabilities. How do they take over the reins of their country?
I'm happy that you have mentioned the destruction of military because our aim, Israel and the United States, is really the military infrastructure. We do not attack civilians or civilian infrastructure. Our targets are against military capabilities like launchers of ballistic missiles, like against the ballistic missiles themselves, against the atomic program of Iran and more.
Ambassador Behar, of course, once you say that, you know I'm going to ask you the question, did you attack an elementary school? Did your missiles hit an elementary school? Whether by design or by accident?
I will tell you, we have not, I'm speaking for us, we have not attacked any school. I think that this issue is still under investigation to find the answers. I can tell you that we, Israel, the United States, have no intention of targeting schools. This is, why to attack schools? It's not a military why to waste ammunition to attack schools. This is not a target. On the contrary, the Iranian regime is attacking civilians, and we have seen the damage in Israel. We have seen civilians killed in Israel. We've seen children killed in Israel by Iranian missiles, and we have seen the Iranian attack against already 12 countries in the region.
But Israel does not attack civilians.
Yes, we do not attack civilians.
What's happening in Lebanon?
In Lebanon, what we see is a terrorist organization called Hezbollah that represent Iran. It's Iran and Hezbollah. This is an instrument created by the Iranian regime as a proxy against Israel.
Yeah.
You see that the Lebanese government and the Lebanese people are outraged by the attack of Hezbollah against Israel. This organization is an extremist terrorist organization that have hijacked a whole country only for the purposes of defending the Iranian regime.
The Israeli government and the military has launched attacks into Lebanon. You have hit residential places in Beirut and other parts. The government of Israel has actually sounded an alarm on residents of Beirut to move from a certain part, the eastern part of Beirut. Those are civilian residential places. Why is Israel attacking residential areas of Lebanon?
Because Hezbollah has placed in these places its military capabilities, its missiles, its munitions, etc. This is the strategy of Hezbollah. The strategy of Hezbollah is to place rockets, ballistic missiles, ammunition, launching areas against Israel inside civilians' homes and infrastructure. That's why, and you have said it also already yourself, that's why we are giving a call for civilians to evacuate these places, because we don't want to create a damage to them and to harm them. So yourself, you are answering your question.
You are. The administration in Beirut has said all the shelters are full. They're actually now taking people into open stadia. Why? Because their homes, their livelihoods are being shelled by Israel. But Israel is directly affecting civilians.
Eric, who has started these last rounds of hostilities between Israel and then Hezbollah? I want to ask you, just answer me that. Who started? Let me answer, and let me answer that myself.
Okay.
Hezbollah started.
Okay.
What we are doing is a reaction. What we are doing is self-defense, because we are under attack by Hezbollah. You know, it's very convenient to say each time that Israel is defending itself that we are the offender.
So the innocent citizens of Lebanon be damned, because Israel is responding to Hezbollah.
They are affected because of Hezbollah. And believe me, the people of Lebanon are fed up with Lebanon. Whenever I meet also Lebanese citizens, doesn't matter where we meet, but I do meet. They tell me we are suffering from Hezbollah. Hezbollah doesn't represent Lebanon. Even the Lebanese government has called upon Hezbollah to stop its attacks. They are worried about that. The Hezbollah has hijacked the majority of Lebanon, and Hezbollah is an instrument in the hands of the Iranian regime. They serve only the Iranian interests and purposes, nothing more than that.
We're winding up our interview shortly, Balozi, and I still want to stick on this line of innocent citizens, innocent civilians getting in the way of Israeli rockets. This has happened in the Gaza Strip. Many tens of thousands of people killed as a direct result of Israeli shelling.
I want to remind...
Let's speak to the humanitarian side of that.
Okay.
What does Israel say about its direct action killing tens of thousands of civilians?
You know, we are always sorry when civilians are hurt in a conflict and in a war. This is not our intention. We do not target civilians. But it's very important to understand that Hamas, that you have mentioned now, deliberately attacking civilians. We have seen it on the 7th of October when they have hijacked hundreds of Israelis into tunnels in Gaza, where they have killed 1,200 Israelis, and most of them civilians on one day. They have as a strategy the killing of civilians in Israel. What we do, we always try to do our utmost to protect civilians.
It's not your utmost, Balozi, when you have more than 20,000, tens of thousands of civilians dead. That does not speak of utmost. And because of this, there's a war crimes charge and an arrest warrant against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by the International Criminal Court.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you, the responsibility for killing of civilians, whether it's in Gaza or in other places, is always in the hands of Hamas or the Iranian regime, because they place their military infrastructure in schools, in hospitals, etc. This is their strategy. This is their strategy, to use civilians as human shields. And when, this infrastructure is attacked and there are some casualties, to say, Israel is to be blamed. No, on the contrary, they are to be blamed. If you don't want civilian casualties in your population, don't put military infrastructure, ballistic missiles, stocks of weapons, bombs, etc., in civilians' homes, in hospitals, in schools, etc. But this is a strategy practiced by Hamas, by Islamic Jihad, by Hezbollah, by the Iranian regime, etc.
In closing, do the ordinary Israeli citizens support Benjamin Netanyahu, who is an ICC indictee?
I don't think I understood your question.
Do the ordinary Israeli citizens support Benjamin Netanyahu,
Of course.
who has an arrest warrant against him by the ICC,
I think
who is an indictee of the ICC on charges of war crimes?
the ICCC was hijacked by political reasons, and it is not serving its purposes. And I think that this is really outrageous that our prime minister is being brought there, that there is a process against him. This is illogical. It is unacceptable. I think that the ICCC and other these kinds of courts should have brought in the Iranian leadership, the Hassan Nasrallah, and all of these bad guys who are really the ones who are causing the trouble in the Middle East and in our region. The Israeli public totally understand what's behind bringing our prime minister to that place, and we object it, and we do not accept it, and we know that it is done for political reasons. But the international arena has been hijacked to do that.
Ambassador Gideon Behar, Ambassador of Israel to Kenya, thank you very much for speaking to us.
You are most welcome. Asante sana.
Asante.